Hello, everyone. It's my pleasure to welcome you all to our 25th Annual Indicators Report Launch event. My name is Christine Kohlzaug, and I'm the Executive Director here at Sustainable San Mateo County. It's hard to believe that it's been 25 years on the Indicators Reports program, but it's true. Next. So this year, we are focusing on equitable housing for our Indicators report. It's an important issue for our county and for the Bay Area in general. Testament to it, I think, is the high number of people who registered to join us today. So before we get started, please note that our full Indicators report is now live. So it's available on our website for you to view. And you can see the link on the slide. We will also post it in our chat. So hope you all will get a chance to go there and have a look at the full report. And if you don't have the time to scroll down through the 46 or so pages of the report, we do have a shorter executive summary, and there is also a summary brochure. So that should be fine to have a look at and see some of the key highlights as well. All right, so with that, let's get started. Next, please. So that's the agenda for today. We have a little hour together. So we can just hit the next slide, please. And I wanted to start with a short summary of our organization, Sustainable San Mateo County, or SSMC for short. And let's start here with our vision, a sustainable future for everyone in San Mateo County. So our vision has remained the same throughout all the years that we've been in existence, close to 3 decades now. And we are a well-established, respected nonprofit. Next, please. And we strive to accelerate sustainability in our county and beyond. As mentioned, so we've been around for quite some time, since 1992, in fact, and we firmly believe that in order for us to have true sustainability, we have to address all 3 E's. That's the framework that we are looking at. And that means we need to promote a healthy environment, a green economy, and social equity. All of these have to work hand in hand in order for us to have true sustainability. We truly believe in a systems approach. Next, please. On this slide, you can have a quick glance at our core programs. And we don't have today the time to get into details on any of these, but I will briefly mention that some of our programs fit in the category of inspiration and celebration. That's our annual awards ceremony. We love our sustainability heroes, organizations, and people that, you know, we can all learn from and copy, hopefully, some of the great innovations and great projects that they are doing in terms of sustainability. Then we have few programs that aim at educating and connecting our communities. That's where we have our monthly happy hours. That's where they fit into. And I really sincerely hope that you will be able to join us. We have the next one happening next week on October 26th on the topic of biodiversity. So I think we can maybe have the link to sign up to the biodiversity happy hour into the chat. And then we also have a suite of programs that aim at tracking sustainability performance and have a look at metrics. And that's where the annual indicators report fits in. And in new, also, we started our sustainability dashboard project. We are pretty much getting ready to launch it. So you'll hear more about the sustainability dashboard project soon. And then last but not least, in addition, we've also been compiling sustainability solutions that both local governments and businesses can look at and implement to help them become even more sustainable. So that's the Sustainability Ideas Bank. And maybe if someone can also add a link into the chat. Right now we have about 76 ideas or solutions that are out there. And there are very high impact, they are ready to be scaled up or down. And we'd love for you to have a look, and hopefully you'll find some that you can implement at your organizations. All right, and I think, I'm not sure if I had mentioned our website, but I think I would like also to quickly mention our general website. That's www.sustainablesanmateo.org. So make sure to check us out. There is also a possibility there to sign up for monthly newsletters, so you can kind of keep track of what we are up to. And for sure, we love to connect with people and hear about your ideas and ways that you can get involved. All right, so I think with that, let's go to the next slide. So this slide is about our impact on the ground. And I think you can clearly see that we are making a positive difference in our community. So in addition to our many programs, we also have been advocating for programs and policies that align with our values. And we love to partner with other organizations to amplify our mutual efforts around issues that fit within our mission. And so those efforts include, but are not limited to, climate change, especially in relation to electrification, both on the transportation and building side. But we've also been working to eliminate racism and support equal access to public transportation, to cite a few of the actions and initiatives that we've been involved with. Next, please. The next slide, please. All right, so now it's time to zoom back in on our annual indicators report program, which is really the key reason why we are all here today. I'm just going to give you a quick snapshot about the program, and then I'll hand it over to our indicators report program manager, Karen Manor, and she will give us some of the key insights that we uncovered. So as I mentioned previously, the Indicators Report program is in its 25th year and was started really to highlight sustainability performance in our county. This year, we are very excited that we got a chance to take a deep dive looking at the state of equitable housing in the county and what it will truly take for us to get there. Next, please. Of course, we couldn't do all the work we do without support from our many sponsors. So I wanted to take a minute here to thank our many partners, many of them that have been supporting us for a very long time. And I did want to say special shout-outs to the County of San Mateo, one of our most important supporters, and also the ongoing support from our many cities. And then also say thank you to Google, Oracle, and Meat Pen Housing, which each one of them are sponsoring this year's launch. With that, I'll hand it over to Karen.
All right. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our 25th Annual Indicators Report launch. Every year, we research and collect data on one aspect of sustainability performance in San Mateo County. This is propelled by the philosophy of what gets measured gets managed. Each year, we focus on a different sustainability topic, and this year we decided to choose equitable housing. Next. Before I talk about the report, I want to say thank you and recognize the amazing team that helped out put this report together. Our committee members, housing experts, next, and our wonderful volunteers. Next. Here are the key topics that are included in the report this year. The full report, as Christine mentioned, can be accessed online and on the slide. The link is in the chat below, and I encourage you all to go and download it. Next. One important aspect of historical policies like redlining and restrictive covenants, which discouraged development where people of color reside and restricted people of color from purchasing land in certain areas altogether is that they still have a lasting impact today on neighborhoods and city housing demographics. The US city map shown below illustrates redlining. The red portions were areas where development was not advised and whites were discouraged from living. Next. Looking at the reality of the housing problem, we see that almost 45% of renters in Santa Clara and San Mateo counties have housing costs greater than 30% of their income. Now, part of this reality is due to the gap between the county's minimum wage and the income required to afford rent. Renters need to earn 3.2 times the minimum wage in order to afford the asking rent for a 2-bedroom unit. Next. The lack of housing being built for low-income households is also a big part of the problem. Cities in the county are failing to meet the housing goals for different income levels that the Association of Bay Area Governments, or ABAG, has set under its Regional Housing Needs Allocation, also known as RHNA. Although cities in the county have built 150% of the homes needed for families making more than $180,000, only 27% of homes needed were built for extremely low and very low income families. Next. Unfortunately, a large segment of the population cannot qualify for affordable housing in the first place because they don't earn enough money. There are very few spots available for people who are considered extremely low income. Here are Stella and her family, who earn too little to qualify. They live in a 1-bedroom apartment in Redwood City. Many people in her income bracket are one medical crisis or paycheck away from homelessness. It's important to help them stay housed because if just 6% of the extremely low-income individuals in the county lose their homes, the county's homeless population will double. Next. The number of new homes in San Mateo County has not kept pace with the number of new jobs. During the last decade, 102,000 new jobs were created in the county, while only 9,500 new housing units were built. And the job housing balance is destined to get worse. We did a comprehensive analysis of all the housing in the pipeline in the county and found that the developments under consideration would create more than 106,000 new jobs, possibly in the next 5 years, but housing units in those same plans number fewer than 25,000. Next slide. One of the leading forces mentioned in the report impacting affordability issues is remote work due to COVID. Right now, remote work is here to stay, but returning to work is an inevitability and is currently projected to come back at around 3 days a week. This will once again shift the jobs to housing and transportation needs. Next. Climate change also affects housing. More than 35% of the county has a high likelihood of fire ignition, and our county is more vulnerable to sea level rise than any other county in the state. Insurance companies and FEMA are already beginning to force property owners to pay rates that more closely reflect these dangers. And low-income housing often is located in areas with the worst pollution and the closest to hazardous waste, impacting their health and quality of life. Next. Now I will hand it over to Terry, our board member, who will tell us about current progress that is being made. Terry?
Thank you very much, Karen. And welcome, everybody. We're glad to have you here today. As you know, there are powerful forces at work in San Mateo County opposed to building equitable housing. Next. Some cities are beginning to figure it out. For example, in the last 5 years, Redwood City has built nearly 600 affordable units, and it has approved 277 more. Another 600 are currently going through the city's planning review process. And working with the county, they've converted 2 hotels into housing for the homeless. And also working with the county, they are working on creating the first navigation center in the county. And this would be a great spot, a shelter combined with a one-stop shop designed with services that would break the cycle of homelessness. Next. That track record is largely due to Redwood City's requirement that every commercial development pay an affordable housing impact fee or provide affordable housing. This is something every city can be doing. And Redwood City has been quite successful in persuading developers to build the affordable units instead of paying the fee. Now, these fees are meant to offset the financial impact a new development places on public infrastructure, and they are very common. Next slide. Others are stepping up efforts to provide affordable housing too. For example, Apple, Facebook, and Google are contributing money and land for affordable housing. Like Redwood City, Pacifica and Half Moon Bay are converting hotels into housing. And Daly City is working with the city's 2 school districts to build housing for teachers and staff. South San Francisco just the other night has approved a 36-unit affordable development with half of the units reserved for households with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Next. These projects and others will help San Mateo County reach its goal of functional zero homelessness, meaning that anyone who desires shelter can access it in our county. Next, please. The payoff comes when you see the relief on the faces of those who finally escape the cycle of housing insecurity. Here's Helen, whose housing nightmare ended when she moved into Arroyo Green, a mid-pen housing project in Redwood City. You can read her story and other stories in our full report. Next, please. So what's different now? Well, for one thing, instead of just talking about affordable housing as a nice idea, leaders are getting very seriously about making deeply affordable housing happen. They're collaborating in different ways. For example, Home for All is a county initiative that brings government, schools, nonprofits, and others together. All Home has leaders from throughout the Bay Area working to end homelessness. And Roadmap Home 2030 is a statewide partnership that's developed a 10-year housing affordability plan for all of California. Next. Single-family zoning used to be untouchable, but state legislators are changing that too. Senate Bill 9 allows as many as 4 units on a single-family lot. Senate Bill 10 allows up to 10 units single-family lots near public transit. And state law also makes it easier to build separate units on single-family lots, which used to be unthinkable. Next. In addition, California is getting serious about requiring equitable housing. In April, the state issued new guidelines to cities for implementing its fair housing bill to make up for past inequities, with things like making sure that renters are not discriminated against. If cities don't pay attention to these guidelines, they may not be eligible for some funding, and they may even risk losing control of local land decisions. Next. There are 2 essential ingredients for ensuring affordable housing. The first is, no surprise, money. The California Comeback Plan is providing billions for affordable housing and for supporting renters. It is the single largest investment in housing in our state's history. Next. Oh, excuse me, still on this one. San Mateo County's Measure K is also beginning to make a big dent in the housing problem. The latest round of funding, the 9th cycle, is $50 million. Next. The other ingredient needed to make affordable housing happen is political will. The pandemic has awakened people to how many essential workers are in danger of losing their homes, not to mention their lives. And residents are beginning to implore their leaders to help these essential workers by providing affordable housing. And if elected leaders want to make it happen, affordable housing will happen. Next. So at Sustainable San Mateo County, we believe sharing successful solutions is one of the fastest ways to accelerate sustainability. Our report offers many creative ideas for providing more affordable housing and protecting renters. And by the way, we have lots more great ideas in all types of sustainability topic areas on our website in the Sustainability Ideas Bank. Next. So let's talk about some of the solutions. One is in Burlingame, where the city traded 2 public parking lots for an affordable housing project on one lot and a parking structure on the other that more than makes up for the lost parking. Next. Oh, I think we missed one. The city of San Mateo's ambitious Kiku crossing will be 100% affordable. And what's interesting is it will give preference to public employees for 57 of its 225 units, provided that they meet income thresholds. 121 units will go to extremely low, very low, and low income families, while others will be for those earning 60 to 80% of area median income. Next. Some other solutions include tiny homes. Have you heard about them? Some cities like San Francisco are constructing small, weatherproof homes for homeless individuals that will allow them to lock their doors and finally feel safe. Los Angeles requires landlords to have a permit in hand before evicting a tenant to do a substantial remodel. Berkeley voters raised the business license tax on residential rental properties, with those extra funds going toward affordable housing. Next. In conclusion, we need everyone to join forces and work together to come up with ingenious, practical solutions that work. Housing is a basic human right. Adequate housing is essential for human survival with dignity. There is still much work to do, and we hope you will join in the compassionate effort to help everyone in San Mateo County have a place to call home. And now back to Christine, who will introduce our speakers.
All right, thank you, Terry. I think, we can all look ahead with confidence and hope. I know for me, it really warms my heart to see all the innovative solutions that are out there. And now, I'm really excited because we are transitioning to our panel discussion. So I think the way we are going to do it is we will go down the order that we have here on the slide, and we will start with our first question, and then we'll mix it up a little bit. So let me start by introducing our first panelist, Rick Bonilla, Deputy Mayor of the City of San Mateo. So Rick joined the San Mateo City Council in 2015 after serving on city commissions since 2001, so a very long time. He served as mayor in 2018 and now, as I mentioned, is currently deputy mayor of the city. He was instrumental in forming Peninsula Clean Energy, which we all know. And that's really exciting because with that, Rick, you were able to allow San Mateo County residents to purchase clean, renewable energy. So bravo, that's a big feat. Rick also has devoted much of his professional life to being a housing advocate, more notably as a leader on the ABAG committee that generated the RHNA, or Regional Housing Needs Assessment Methodology. So I think with that, let's start with the first question, and then next we'll have Diana, and I will introduce her before she answers the question. So our first question today for the panel is, what is needed most to create more affordable housing? So Rick, your turn.
Thank you very much, Christine. I want to thank everybody for being here. Today's a great day for creating additional awareness regarding the need for more affordable housing and also the combination of housing and sustainability. Because, I mean, I think I heard it mentioned earlier that climate change also affects housing. I think that I can really honestly say that housing affects climate change. Okay, housing done right in the modern ways that we know how to do it, with sustainability in mind and efficiency of uses of energy, and with new technologies that use electric energy instead of methane gas energy, we can do housing in a way that it's not then contributing to climate change and the other issues that we know we have to deal with. So what's really needed most, though, to create the housing we need is positive will. Okay, we have groups of people who form and actively fight the creation of housing. We've all heard of them. And then we have the other side, which is a group of people who form, and there are acronyms. You have NIMBYs and YIMBYs, right? And it's almost like a field game. These people, find ways to attack the NIMBYs, everything that has to do with possibly building any housing anywhere near where they live, which is the biggest priority. So one of the things we have to do is what we're doing today, creating the awareness of the need for equitable, affordable, and sustainable housing. We can't do enough of this. There needs to be political goodwill. There needs to be goodwill in the community. There needs to be positive institutional will, which in this county, I think we're fortunate to have. Redwood City, of course, was really shown as a leading housing developer. The county is doing so much great work with homeless. And in San Mateo, we're not laggards either. We're doing pretty well on building affordable housing, especially in our transit areas, downtown, Bay Meadows, as was mentioned earlier. So I think that's one of the biggest things. Also, we have to look to find, I think, more partners to help us with this. So ABAG is leading in the right direction, and I'm happy to be there helping on the Regional Planning Committee now, which is doing Plan Bay Area 2050. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Rick. And I think, what you said, the need to create awareness first, that's really where it all starts. So I think with that, let me introduce Diana Reddy. So Diana was elected to the Redwood City Council in 2018. She's a longtime advocate of social justice issues, including but not limited to affordable housing, protection of renters, and access to healthcare, education, and immigration. She helps establish a safe parking lot in Redwood City for those facing housing insecurity. And she also supported negotiations for a property exchange between Redwood City and San Mateo County that was very innovative and paves the way for the county's first navigation center. I'm sure Diana will tell us a little bit more about the Navigation Center. She served twice as co-chair of Faith in Action, formerly Peninsula Interfaith Action. So Diana, if you could please also elaborate on our first question here, and that was, what, in your opinion, is needed most to create more affordable housing? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Christine. And thank you so much for bringing this great spotlight to this amazing.
Hey, Diana,
yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you. I think we are having a little bit of audio glitches here.
Okay.
Much better.
Okay.
Thank you.
So is this all right? I have my notes in front of me, so it must have been in front of my microphone. So first, thank you, Sustainable San Mateo County, for bringing this amazing spotlight to this important topic. And I see in our participants list that we have 137 participants. So I'm really excited about the interest that our community is demonstrating in something that is an extraordinary problem for us. So thank you to all who joined us today. So I've learned in my short tenure as a city council member that it takes a village to create and protect housing that is affordable for young professionals, service workers, and the most vulnerable in our communities. It takes a city council that uses clear intention when making land use decisions, particularly as they relate to housing for residents of all incomes and for members of marginalized communities. It takes a talented staff that researches innovative initiatives and takes advantage of all opportunities when they present themselves. It takes a development community that works together to ensure the goals of the city are realized. In Redwood City, market rate developers are partnering with nonprofit developers in order to maximize the number of units created for the lowest income workers and their families. It takes a community that I believe has become touched by the impacts of the pandemic in realizing that most of us were kept safe because those lowest income workers put themselves and their families at risk by going to work every day. In my view, it takes a village. And we can accomplish amazing things by standing together, working together, and demanding that affordable housing is doable, and we just need to have the heart to make it happen. Thank you.
Diana, I think that was beautifully said. I mean, you basically brought together heart, hands, and mind, and I love that about it. So really, I think your right point on it's really about bringing the community together and fostering and creating innovative partnerships. So yeah, hopefully we'll have more of those. So I think with that, I'd like to actually invite Matt Franklin, our third panelist, to weigh in on the question. So let me quickly introduce Matt. So Matt is a nationally recognized leader in the field of affordable housing. He joined Midpen Housing in 2008, so quite a bit of time, Matt, over 20 years. And over the years, he served as chief executive. Midpen's annual housing production has more than doubled. Staff has grown from 350 to nearly 500 under his leadership. He has held senior positions at the federal, state, and local levels, including Deputy Chief of Staff for the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development under President Clinton, and also Director of California's Department of Housing and Community Development, and also he was the director for the San Francisco Mayor's Office of Housing. So very impressive resume. We are honored that you're with us here today, Matt, and please take it on. So again, the question is, what is needed most to create more affordable housing in your opinion?
Yeah, great. Well, thank you. Thank you, Christine. Congratulations on your report too, by the way. Just really, really well done. I love that it's focused on equitable housing, and I also really appreciate the focus on solutions. So it's great to be here. You know, I don't want to repeat anything that's been said by my wonderful colleagues on the panel here. I just maybe frame it just a little differently. At Midpen, we really think of it as a three-legged stool. It starts with political leadership, as I think Rick said. We couldn't have better examples of that than Rick and Diana here today. I think of you both as advocates for affordable housing first, and it's certainly helpful that you're experienced political leaders. The political leadership, it's hard to get this work done. It's hard to get this work done in communities. And when we're looking around the region and trying to decide where we want to invest our time and treasure and resources, the first thing we look for is commitment of political leadership on this issue. The second thing is the use of local land use authority. So again, I think San Mateo is a great example. They've embraced density downtown. They've demonstrated that you can create a great downtown in a denser living environment. And I think it's just a wonderful example of that. And you have to be willing to be aggressive in your use. For sure, fulfill your public responsibilities to make sure that developments are done well. They create great living environments, but we know we can do this in a more dense setting than a lot of the history of San Mateo County. And there's some great examples of that. You highlighted the Kiku development. We were in the middle of that planning and that entitlement work with Rick and others when some new legislation was passed that allowed for increasing what's called the density bonus. If you're 100% affordable, you could go up another couple stories and add density. We added 80 units in the middle of our entitlement work at the urging of people like Rick and his colleagues on the city council. So you have to be willing to use your land use authority at the local level aggressively if we're ever going to have a shot at solving this problem. And then the third is money and resources, money, land. The reality, and you had a wonderful chart. One of your first tables showed the disparity in wages with what you need to afford market rate. There's a big gap. So when we're out building, we're paying market rate for materials, for labor. Just because I'm a 501c3 doesn't mean anybody's giving me a break on the cost to build. So if we want to offer something at an affordable rent or an affordable sales price, the reality is it requires subsidy. And so you need political leadership, you need responsible, aggressive use of land use authority, and you need resources.
All right, so I think you summed it up beautifully, Matt. So it's time now to launch or to dig a little bit deeper into policies at the local and state level. And I'd like to hear from our panelists, especially from Rick and Diana on this one. What do you think are the best policies local and state officials could adopt to enable more affordable housing? So whoever is ready, Rick or Diana.
So I think that we all talk about inclusionary zoning and affordable housing, overlay zones, and other opportunities that our cities can use to increase the affordable housing that is in market rate developments. But I also wanted to mention that in Redwood City, and I think that there was an example of something that's being done in San Mateo that's similar. Staff discovered that less than 10% of our affordable units were being used by people who lived in Redwood City or worked in Redwood City. So now Redwood City has just adopted a preference ordinance to ensure that the affordable units will go to people who either live or work in Redwood City or formerly lived in Redwood City and got displaced. So I think that the policies that are working are varied. They're not just in creating the numbers. And also San Mateo and Redwood City and other communities have been successful in increasing the ELI, the extremely low income units that are being created. So that's another thing I'm really proud of in Redwood City.
I want to add that in San Mateo, we do use the same tools that Redwood City is using, I think. And one of the smartest things we did a while back was to do our housing impact fee that was established through 21 Elements. Other things we use are the availability of development space on a particular site that may not actually be part of the proponent's proposal. I think it's important that we have our staff start early on in discussions with proposers about filling up the envelope, trying to make sure we get as much housing there as we can. The question of the jobs and housing imbalance is huge, weighs heavy on all of our minds. Job creators have no limits, really, because they're business and they're given a free hand basically by just every level of state government there seems to be. And it's for the cities to take a look at trying to create that balance. So it's difficult. It's not easily done. Housing is a huge demand. We need to respect the call of the people for a roof over their head, the basic shelter. And to do that, we need to have more partners in funding because, like Matt said, the subsidy is necessary. We can't do the affordable housing without making it pencil out. For the All Affordable project, it's almost, between the city and whatever sources we can find, so much subsidy. On the private projects, it's getting them to fund it in a way using our inclusionary ordinance in San Mateo's 15%, but to maximize what we can do. And when the housing density bonus came along on the Kiku Crossing project, or All Affordable that Matt mentioned, we were so happy to see that happen in 80 units and 2 additional floors. So this building is a showpiece for what can be done. So I think that the harder we look for partners that are going to help make it possible, the better off we'll be.
All right. Yeah. Once again, I mean, we are hearing that it's very important to pursue a multi-pronged approach, which I think is really like the key in helping us solve the issue. So now we are going to move on. I wanted to repeat like one of the key facts from the report is that in order to afford an average 2-bedroom housing unit in San Mateo County, renter need to earn like almost $51 per hour. And that's like over three times the minimum wage. So that's like, quite a sum of money. And I think what it really showcases or highlights is that it's really tough. I mean, especially for extremely low income people in the county, just, to stay housed. And as you mentioned, Rick, I mean, this is a basic human right. And so I think, what also was striking is that if just 6% of an extremely low income individuals in the county, they lose their homes, then what it means for the county as a whole is that our homeless population is going to nearly double. So, it's really going to impact all of us. So I think with that, what I'd like to hear you panelists is just explain to us, I mean, how we can better help homeless people and how can we try to address this dire situation.
Sure. Thank you so much, Christine. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to share this, but let me try. So Redwood City enthusiastically, are you able to see the screen?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Perfect.
So Redwood City enthusiastically joined with the county to with a land swap. And so this piece of property was over, for those of you who are familiar with Redwood City, was over on the east side of 101, in close proximity to where the current Maple Street shelter is. And so a 240 unit navigation center is planned. And the construction will begin this coming spring, and it is expected to take less than a year to be constructed. It's just an amazing project. And as Terry mentioned earlier, with this 240 unit navigation center and the hotels that are being purchased in Redwood City, San Mateo, Half Moon Bay, and elsewhere in the county, San Mateo County is going to be very close to reaching its functional zero in homelessness. And for any homeless person who, as Terry mentioned, is seeking shelter, that will be available to them. So we're very excited about this, and I'm open to questions. I know I need to be really brief, but I'm very excited about the navigation center, and this is one of the things that's being done. The two hotels in Redwood City, one for vulnerable seniors, totally for vulnerable seniors, and the other for people who are having more long-term experiences with homelessness. So yeah, that's what we're doing. Those are a couple of suggestions.
I think those are marvelous suggestions, Diana. Thanks for sharing. So Matt, I mean, I'd love to hear your take on that question. So what can we do to alleviate homelessness?
Sure. So again, here I really appreciate the report's focus on homelessness and also the extremely low income. To me, they kind of go together. As you pointed out in the report, there's a lot of vulnerable people who are kind of living right on the edge. You showed some good county numbers. Throughout the Bay Area, there's about 900,000 individuals who are extremely low income compared to 35,000 homeless. And so the same dynamic you described, where just a few of those vulnerable folks tip into homelessness, you could double it, is true at the Bay Area regionally. The first thing I want to say about homelessness is we have solutions to homelessness. I think it often feels like we don't. And the reason it feels like we don't is that our economy is creating more people who are homeless at a faster rate than we're able to implement our solutions. Right? So that wage disparity is enormous. The costs keep going up, cost of living. So we keep tipping more folks into homelessness with our sort of macroeconomic factors at a faster rate than we can garner the resources to implement our solutions. But we have solutions. You can read the newspaper every day, see money being spent, see the numbers going up, and you can feel like, oh my gosh, we don't have any solutions, but we do. The first is permanent supportive housing. So 15% of MidPenn's 9,000 affordable homes are permanent supportive housing. People who have been chronically homeless, who have been repeatedly homeless in an episodic way, get a stabilized life in a permanent unit, and the services brought to them on site. Mental health services, substance abuse services, eventually education and job training, financial literacy to return to stability and then opportunity in their lives. It works. We have a 95% retention rate when we take people right off the street and put them in permanent supportive housing, after 2 years. So we know it works, but it's expensive and it takes a while to implement because of all of our land use and entitlement challenges. So there is some really exciting innovation going on right now in the space. You mentioned the Homekey Program, a state and federal program to go buy existing units. Lately, it's been mostly hotels and motels, but it could be existing apartment units that are vacant or underutilized, put them to work, housing the homeless quickly and immediately. It's been wonderful. To my mind, it's an expression of the urgency that people are feeling to solve this problem that is truly an emergency. And it's a great start. We acquired one of the buildings that was mentioned in San Mateo. It's a suites hotel, so it already has little kitchenettes in the rooms. It's just a perfect setup, frankly. We have 99 formerly homeless seniors, most of whom came right off the streets. It's a wonderful, stable community in Redwood Shores. So that's exciting. And then you're seeing a lot of innovation around the bridge housing. You showed the tiny homes. Life Moves did a really exciting development that's just a really simple modular box, kind of around a common kitchen courtyard. These are really interim or temporary or bridge. They're not really going to be permanent. They're much different in terms of code, but again, they're much cheaper and faster. And so, Diana and I are part of a regional group called All Home that's working on this. Our recommendation of that group is that folks use what we call a 1-2-4 model. That for every one temporary or bridge or tiny home that you create 2 permanent supportive housing units, and you take 4 intervention measures to help someone who's extremely low income, who's living on the edge, to prevent them from going into homelessness. 1, 2, 4 is kind of a prescription that a regional group of experts have gotten together to prescribe to communities as they're thinking about homelessness. So that's a couple of the solutions, both proven, longstanding, and some of the newer ones that there's just a lot of really exciting energy and ideas around right now.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. So I think, again, you pointed out the need with this issue to really take a comprehensive approach and a systems-wide approach, which is very much in line with what we stand for here at Sustainable San Mateo County. And I think, it's true. I mean, it's really about breaking the cycle And I can see that if not only you're providing permanent supportive housing, but you have all the accompanying necessary services that are provided at the same time. I was really impressed in hearing your retention rate. I think you were saying it's 95% after 2 years. And I think that's a true testament that it really seems to work. I mean, it's an approach that works. So I think with that, actually, if it's okay with you, Rick, I think I'd like to segue into yet another question. We have a little bit more time, but not much more longer.
Could I just quickly say something about the wage that you mentioned?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I'll keep it very brief, okay? Wages are really key to the discussion because building affordable housing is not the only way to enable people to afford to live someplace, right? So in 2016, San Mateo, first city in the county, we created a plan to raise the wage to $15 an hour over 3 years. We're there now for a few years, but still, that should not be left out of this equation, okay? The best housing plan is a good jobs plan, and the good jobs is what matters. Good jobs that pay decent wages and provide for the rest of the cost of doing business. For people need health care, people need housing. These things have to be met. So I'm already advocating for increasing the minimum wage again, okay? Because 2015 was $15 an hour. This is 2021, and we have to go beyond because the disparity, the actual homelessness and illness that's caused by low wages is not, it doesn't happen by accident. It doesn't just happen. It's created by allowing wages that are not indexed to the cost of living. That's all. Thank you.
Yeah, no, and I think that's a absolutely important point because, you know, we're seeing more and more of our essential workers that are being displaced or that are forced to live in cars. And those are really, frankly, those are our neighbors. They are the teachers, the plumbers, and, you know, we can't. It's not good for our local economies neither as well. So I think, Rick, I mean, that kind of ties in nicely with a question from the audience. And the question is, how can we get cities to tie job creation with an equal amount of housing in the same community, market rate and affordable? So whoever would like to take a stab at that.
Well, it's very complex. We're out of balance, right? Like I said, somehow we need to seek to index wages to cost of living. So to create good jobs, we have to make sure that we are working to attract good jobs, right? And you have to target certain industries. Like I see San Carlos right now is targeting the biopharmaceutical industry. That brings good jobs. And those good jobs will create the need for more low-wage service workers in the area, right? So what we have to do is seek to bring the low-wage service workers along in terms of, you know, lifting them up along with this new well-paid population that will be coming to the city, seeking to live in the city. So looking for putting pressure on existing built environments that may not really serve their needs. Developers will come along proposals to change a use from single-family homes to multifamily homes. And along the way, some people get displaced, but also along the way, other good jobs get created building those new multifamily homes. It's a whole huge web, and it really needs in-depth analysis, and we all have to come together to really make it a central focus, okay? Where there's a will, there's a way, right? And right now, there doesn't seem to be very strong will to align these interests.
All right. So I think, you know, just to close it out, I have an eye on time and we're almost at the end of our hour here. But I think that's a perfect segue for all of us to please share your vision of equitable housing with us all. What does it look like? You can pretend we are like 10 years ahead, and what has changed? What made equitable housing possible?
Well, I'd like to say that I think the advent of the new state housing laws, SB 9 and SB 10, will have positive effect. People will start seeing some housing in areas where they traditionally have not been, but it will be creating a type of affordability in settings where we haven't been able to provide it. And the dispersion of this type of housing, especially in areas that are closer to transit, which we're lucky in San Mateo County to have the Caltrain line and good bus system. It can be done. It's all manageable. And I think we're going to be seeing a change as long as those laws come along. And I think it was AB 1411, would have been a law. I think it's going to be looked at again next year to limit the amount of parking that's required to be built at these buildings as long as you're close to transit. It would make a huge difference because parking, as Matt can attest, hugely expensive, hugely and quite often unused. So we need to really tune up and get in line with the need for parking in different areas so that we don't overbuild that. So those are some ideas.
All right. So Matt, what's your take on that? What's your vision of equitable housing?
Well, I think I really liked sort of the vein of a lot of the questions in here. Fundamentally, we have to figure out how to temper our job creation and balance it with our housing creation. And so, I think my vision is that that we do attract quality jobs, as Rick said, and that we are engaging those employers much more deeply, and frankly, asking much more of them to help with the contingent 3 to 4 to 5 service jobs that come with every one of those commercial jobs. And we just have to understand that ratio. For every one, relatively high paying executive position coming in and all the office getting built in the county, you create demand for 3, 4, 5 service jobs. We have to get the gulf between those two experiences much closer together. And we have to plan in every community that is competing for jobs. They have to start to plan and take that responsibility to plan for enough housing to accommodate not just the one, but all 4, 5, or 6 in that bundle. It's essential to our economy, right? We've heard different arguments here. We've heard moral arguments for why this is important around housing as a basic fundamental right, something I believe, but may not resonate with everyone. There's an environmental argument. We see all the traffic coming across the bay, but there's an economic argument. These workers are essential to our regional economy. And we're just at a very tenuous point. The more we're creating a situation where they either have a choice of living several hours away to commute in, or to live in unhealthy and unsafe conditions in our community here. As Diana said, that COVID was such a reminder of the communal collective cost of that, we have to create a third alternative. And so my vision is that the communities would start to look much more similar in their form and in their, stop competing with each other for jobs, stop celebrating every time they steal an employer a couple exits up the highway, but instead start collaborating over the planning for the whole bundle of, not just the one, but the 5 or 6 jobs that are created with each one of those desks.
All right. Well, Diana, if you want to add your work, and we certainly are a very innovative region, so I think if someone can pull it up, that's going to be us. So, Diana.
Thank you so much, Christine. Thank you to everyone and to my panel partners. This was a wonderful discussion in my view. So my vision is always that in 10 years, the number of housing insecure in our area is going to be drastically reduced. It's not going to go away completely, but it's going to be drastically reduced because our cities, our partner cities, are also taking up the banner and buying apartment buildings and protecting the housing for those residents who are currently in their communities and preventing them from being displaced. So staff in Redwood City discovered that over 80% of the workers pre-pandemic were commuting. And so that's, as was mentioned, that's one of the blessings that we have, that our communities are right on the Caltrain's route. And so most of our employees in the high-tech buildings are commuting by train or bus. And we need to protect those who are not able to do that and protect our environment from people who are in low wage jobs who are commuting from the East Bay. So thank you. Thank you again for all you've done today.
Well, thank you so much, panelists, I think, for sharing all these insights and, very pertinent solutions with us here today. So I just wanted to close it here. We are running out of time, but again, if you want to have a look at the complete report, you can check it out on our website. And then I just wanted to remind you of some of our upcoming events. So next, please. So we have our next happy hour, the October happy hour. It's going to focus on biodiversity. We have two fantastic speakers. Come and join us. It's next week on the 26th from 5:30 to 6:30. And don't forget your green drink. It's almost Halloween, so you can also come with an orange drink. That's going to be okay as well. Next, please. And then again, a reminder that we now have the call for nominations for our awards that is open. It's going to close down on December the 6th. I forgot to mention Rick is one of our past award winners. So tell your friends, tell your colleagues. You can also self-nominate yourself. We want to hear from all the good work that's going on in our county. So you can check out again our website to learn more. And I want to close it here by saying again a big thank you to all our sponsors, which enable us to do the work we do. And next, please. If you want to make an impact in your community, we'd love to hear from you. We have many various volunteering opportunities. We're also always looking for partners. And so just, check us out, the website, sign up for our newsletter, and get in touch if you have any solution you'd like to share with us. And I think with that, I'd like to close it today. Thank you very much, all of you, for joining us. And together we can solve the housing issue in our county and beyond. We have to. It's been said before, it's a moral imperative, but it's also an economic factor and an environmental factor as well. And, we are amongst the smartest people in the region. So we just have to get together, roll up our sleeves, and make it happen. So with that, you have a great day, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye.